These were two neighborhoods that included one area that some say could have been a modern-day Bourbon Street.
A modern day Bourbon Street. That is what was deleted from this great city of Detroit when they removed these communities by in turn installing 375 in Black Bottom and Paradise Valley's place. Imagine if we had our own Bourbon Street here in the city of Detroit. That is what we lost when they replaced our communities with a freeway. What's going on, folks? Eddie Carrington, mayor of Flux City, and today I'm reacting to some surprising news, honestly. It looks like MDOT is officially restarting their I-375 project, which is amazing, phenomenal. I couldn't be happier, but I didn't think it was going to happen because there was a lot of pushback from the community based off of their initial 1.0 plan. But it looks like they got their act together and they are moving forward with a revised plan that most of the community seems to be behind. So, if you're not too familiar with I-375 here in Detroit, it used to be what we call Black Bottom. Hastings Street used to run across where 375 is now, but back in the 50s, the government decided to expand the freeway. And unfortunately, a lot of Black communities and business corridors were taken over by counties and states to in turn expand the freeways across the country. But unfortunately, once again, the Black communities were the ones that were mostly affected by a lot of these expansions. This freeway is one that a lot of Detroiters always question if it is even necessary to be a freeway because of the small stretch of runway it kind of encompasses. So community members have been pushing to potentially redevelop this area back into usable square footage, not specific to motor vehicles, but for the re-envisioning of potentially a Black Bottom 2.0. So we're going to look into this today and see what's happening with the I-375 makeover.
A controversial construction project involving I-375 in Detroit is set to resume after it was paused for a few months.
MDOT postponed the I-375 Reconnecting Communities project that was set to begin construction this fall. The project would have transformed the nation's shortest highway into a service-level boulevard.
The nation's shortest highway. It's just so unfortunate that they turned what we call Black Bottom and Paradise Valley into a highway. This area had so much potential. This was very concentrated with regard to Black owned businesses, housing. It had Black owned hotels. It had jazz bars. It had restaurants. This was a happening area. And back in the 50s, they used eminent domain and literally just wiped out all of these different important pieces to the city of Detroit in one swoop. And so a lot of people were really upset about the deletion of this street and of this area. Now, fast forward to the 2020s when Michigan Department of Transportation is thinking through what to do with this site. The community is showing up in droves, and they're putting their foot down and they're demanding to be heard. That is how we got to this point where we're at version 2.0. The neighbors didn't feel heard, and you saw a lot of pushback on MDOT's initial version to a point where luckily they decided to go back to the drawing board, think through the feedback that they received, and they boiled down the initial concept to be a little bit more digestible for the community and for the state budget as well. The initial version was thought to potentially cost over $500 million, whereas 2.0 is right around $140, $150 million. It's going to benefit not only the community proper, but also the state.
MDOT decided to hit pause on the initial plans due to community pushback.
7 News Detroit reporter Tiara Braddock talked to MDOT about what's changed in the project. She also heard from residents who have been quite vocal about this.
After a few months on pause, MDOT recently announced that they are resuming the I-375 project, transforming the freeway into a street-level boulevard. This time around, it has a new design and a new timeline.
My very first reaction was, this is
Looks good, more pedestrian friendly. And this is really just giving the city of Detroit an opportunity to have a blank canvas for this site to eventually develop upon when the time is right. Maybe it's not right away, right? Maybe you don't see anything happening on these sites for 10 plus years, but by 2035 or by 2040, there could be opportunity where if there is the right plan that will reactivate this site with the right incorporation of the community, these sites can become something greater than just street level, pedestrian friendly walkways and crossways.
When the freeway was originally constructed in the 1960s, neighborhoods and residents were displaced. MDOT hopes the project will update the freeway's aging infrastructure while also bringing some restorative justice.
I also want the community to somehow feel made whole because this piece of real estate has been seized, remade, redeveloped for over a century.
And they did kind of breeze through the backstory of this freeway. And so we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive on Black Bottom and Paradise Valley after this video here.
Back in August, MDOT paused the project to reevaluate how to move forward in a way that is more community-oriented. The project has been met with pushback from residents when it came to its original design for the boulevard from
This initial proposal would have just been a disaster for downtown, for the neighborhood over in that area, for the residents. Construction would have been years long, road closures everywhere, dust and debris, and it just would have been bad. Parking would have been a challenge. I'm just so glad that they made this adjustment as they did.
Jefferson to Gratiot.
I didn't think it was walkable, and many of my neighbors pointed out, well, these intersections aren't safe for people to cross.
Some residents also expressed concern that the project will leave the area in a long-standing construction zone.
The entire area would be covered with dust and construction traffic for years.
On Thursday, MDOT unveiled their rendering of a new boulevard design. Rob Marassi, a spokesperson for MDOT, says it's smaller and the construction will be broken up into phases.
So what we're looking at is a phased approach to build a boulevard south of Gratiot Avenue. North of Gratiot and into the interchange will be, we'll look at that at a later date as funding becomes available. But right now our focus more so is south of Gratiot down to Woodbridge.
They carved close to $400 million off the budget with this adjusted plan. And I really do think that this is the better strategy. It's something that's easier to digest, obviously from the state side. They once again are saving $400 million with this new approach, but it's also easier for the community to accept due to the fact that the scale of this redevelopment of this area is a little bit smaller, but it still has a significant impact for what they're trying to accomplish.
Meanwhile, Dr. Rebecca Chung says she feels like MDOT listened to the residents.
I feel like they heard us, finally. I'm very proud of the people in Lafayette Park, this side of the city, who organized.
In the city's Lafayette Park,
It always boils down to the community. It always boils down to the voice of the people who live in the area that you develop. No matter how big or small your development firm is, no matter if you're a small scale developer, Dan Gilbert, or the state of Michigan, you still have to listen to the community and you have to get their input and you have to make the adjustments based off of their feedback, not necessarily off of what you think is best, because the community is and the residents of that neighborhood are the ones that live, walk, bike that area more so than these individuals that are making those decisions from a state level, right? And these are also the individuals that are voting in the city representation to a point where if they're not heard, the individuals that are in power from a city side, from a city level, may find themselves out of a job. So let's do a little bit more of a deep dive on Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. I think it's important to really understand the history of this area for those who may not necessarily know why 375 is carrying so much weight when it comes to what happens to this site. This is going to allow for you to understand just why the community is so up in arms as to what happens at this location. And they want to see the redevelopment of this site done right so the community can be made partially whole again.
Today, we are taking a look at two parts of Detroit's past that helped Detroit become what it is today.
These were two neighborhoods that included one area that some say could have been a modern-day Bourbon Street.
A modern-day Bourbon Street. That is what was deleted from this great city of Detroit when they removed these communities by in turn installing 375 in Black Bottom and in Paradise Valley's place. Imagine if we had our own Bourbon Street here in the city of Detroit. That is what we lost when they replaced our communities with a freeway.
We're looking south toward downtown and the Detroit River. A lot of rich history here on Detroit's Lower East Side. Black Bottom and Paradise Valley.
Everybody from Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, there was hustlers. Detroit is a hustling city.
Bert Deering, funny enough, I actually purchased his first jazz bar on Gratiot some years back. This was a site that was in pretty bad shape by the time I bought it back in the late teens through Wayne County's tax auction. I think I paid a little over $6,000 for this building. And let me show you. So this is a video I did early on in my YouTube career. And this was a lessons learned video. I learned a lot. I didn't take an L. I learned a lot. I bought this building. It needed a ton of work. And I just was not equipped to be able to execute in the format that I was hoping for. And I didn't realize until I kind of got knee deep in it. And by that time, it was too late. But I ended up selling this property, didn't make a profit on it, but I'm glad I sold it because a few years after I drove by this building, it was demoed by the city of Detroit. Let's talk a little bit about why I decided to buy this property to begin with. For one, it came with some pretty cool history. Back in the late 60s and 70s, the building was the location of Bert Deering's very first jazz club, the Black Horse Inn. This is, from my understanding, Bert's first jazz club that he opened in the city, and this was on Gratiot. I could be wrong, so I've never spoken with Bert in person with regard to the history of this site. Bert is a very well-respected business owner here in the city of Detroit. He's ran a number of bars and restaurants. He runs Bert's on Broadway down in Eastern Market, and once again, highly respected. But this Bert is this Bert.
Anybody that leave Detroit can go anywhere in the country and become leaders because they have that hustle instinct. And I think that just comes natural from the area that we came up from.
The major line to look at when you talk about the differences between the two communities, Gratiot Avenue, everything south of Gratiot was Black Bottom.
Black Bottom was the area where we stayed at.
The name Black Bottom comes not from a section where black people lived, but for the rich topsoil. In the 1800s, it was.
And that was actually something that I recently learned as well. I didn't realize that Black Bottom was not named after black folk. It was actually named after the soil that was located within this area of the city. If you're not too familiar with the history of Detroit, the city of Detroit was once farmland, and we used to call these long, narrow plots of land ribbon farms, which allowed for settlers to be able to tie their crops with the Detroit River. Eventually, these ribbon farms kind of converted into the streets that align the city.
Paradise Valley was a place where you had Jackie Gleason, Milton Berle, Cab Calloway, anybody came in town. That's where they stayed at and they partied. And it was like Bourbon Street that you have in New Orleans. That's what we had in Detroit back then.
Can you imagine that?
Paradise Valley was essentially the business and cultural center of the black community in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s.
Man, look at all those black folks doing good, having a good time, enjoying themselves, dressed to the nines, suits, ties, looking clean.
The nightlife was great. You would dress up.
Back then, people believe in dressing. Guys get dressed up, go to the barbershop, get cleaned up, party. All of them down the street, like you said, even to the record shops, they would be playing music and people would open up late.
You had
Sammy Davis Jr. Oh man, I love his music.
all the stars that were stars of somebody came to Detroit, okay? And we had the top musicians here back then. My house, every other house was a joint, so it was after-hour joint. So music was going on 24/7.
If you were at Ford Field in Comerica Park, that was the heart of Paradise Valley. That is where all of the businesses were. They've all been demolished now. Beginning in 1959, I-375 and I-75, the Chrysler Freeway, took out Hastings Street.
And I'm gonna give you my viewpoint of it. The plan that Eisenhower came when he was president, urban renewal, was when they was bringing the freeway. So every freeway that went through any area went through the black area and eliminated the black clubs, black businesses, and our area was Hastings Street.
There was a strong sense of community, and really, in effect, that's what America, when at her best, is all about.
It was like paradise.
It was certainly a paradise for African Americans, where they could own businesses, where they could go hear great jazz music or rhythm and blues, be amongst each other, and live in harmony.
So there you have it. The construction of I-375 back in the late 50s, early 60s literally destroyed Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, displaced thousands of residents, hundreds of small businesses, and now you hopefully can see why the community is showing up in droves, making sure that they're heard for this next iteration of I-375 or the deletion of I-375 to hopefully reset this area and give the opportunity to have a Black Bottom and Paradise Valley 2.0 back at this site. So us Detroiters can reimagine what this truly could be for our future generations to come. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video.